Hey everybody, this is Dewey in Nashville, welcoming you back for another fun-filled update. Each week I'll do an update on part of my garden, and so I want to invite you back. Got a lot of new things to show you. First off, I want to thank Praxis for the nudge to get me on camera, get me out of my shell. So this is me, and before I get comments, no, I don't garden in these clothes. I'm getting ready to go to work, and this is what I wear to work. So I'll give you a quick tour and then head in the car and go to work, edit some video later, and this will be online. So I want to welcome you back, and come on, let's get started. I got a lot of fun things to show you. Got some new visitors to the garden. I got a lot of new growth, as you can see behind me, and so we'll get started. Come on. Y'all remember my squash plant, right? Yep. This monstrosity has given me count them, three fruits at one time. And normally squash plants don't do that, but this one's been a big producer. And you can see just how, for comparison, and I've got extra large hands, those are huge leaves. And this thing has taken my entire garden over almost. You can see it's shaded some of the broccoli plants. Trying to poke through. It's almost getting to this one, and then there's another broccoli plant under there somewhere. So this thing is just taking over. It's awesome, but it's a bad thing at the same time. So alright, let's go right next door. You can see my broccoli plants. Yes, they are doing just fine. The wind blew them over several times, but they're not. They haven't been knocked over too bad. See, I've got had some army worms I'm still fighting. I'll pull one off about every 2 or 3 days. Sometimes I'll pull 3 or 4 off of different plants, different times. So yeah, broccoli's doing real well. That one over there, as you see, zoom in, you see a head forming. Woohoo! I'm gonna have some broccoli soon. I'll probably have to mix it up with some store-bought broccoli because they got a lot of kids to feed. Leaf lettuce is just starting to fill in real well. Tasted some leaves off of it, and they're kind of bitter, but I'm thinking there's some sweet ones in there too. And the iceberg, same thing. Haven't started to form heads yet, but getting there soon. My carrots have a sad face though. The armyworms and caterpillars in general do not seem to respond well to the BT, and so they have picked, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that they've just, one a day it seems like. They eat one a day, and I've picked a couple of them off that I've caught red-handed, but hopefully the rest won't get attacked. Only the small ones will keep getting attacked, and then they'll kind of die off, but I'll still have a few carrots. Alright, let's come up here to the giant wall of green. It's going to be hard to show you from this angle, so let me freehand for a little bit. Cucumber is doing wonderful. You can see how far up I've got to go to get it, and sorry that's not good light. It is doing absolutely fabulous. If you can count them, see if I can find all of them. Where are they? There's 1 and 2 behind it. There's 1 there. I'm on. Bad lighting, sorry. And so that's 3. And then 4. So I have 4 cucumbers on this plant. It is great. So hopefully, I've already pulled 1 off, and it was awesome to actually have a cucumber that wasn't water stressed and bitter. And it's still putting out tons of flowers, including a couple of female flowers. My green beans are just streaking up the trellis. You see that one's going almost all the way to the top. And this is let's say about an 8-foot, 9-foot trellis. Huge. Now they haven't filled in yet. The vines, you can see they're starting to put off some leaves. And down here you can see where the different stages of leaf development for a green bean. It's kind of funny. You got the baby leaves. Let me get them on here. Baby leaves here, and then they kind of balloon out a little bit here, and then they're still filling out at this stage, and then finally they start looking like this. So it's kind of cool. You get to see all the development of the leaves as they go on, different stages all over the plant. My tomato is almost overtaken. It's still doing well. I mean, you can see just how big and nice those leaves are. Good color. So I've got tons of blooms on it, and if half those blooms turn into red tomatoes, I will be swimming in tomatoes just off this one plant. I want to show y'all some visitors I've had to my garden. Here we are. I don't know if you can get such a good view of them from there. He's orange and black and spiky, and he's a really cool dude. At first I thought he was a pest, but he's not. That is a baby ladybug from what I've seen online. So yes, ladybugs do reproduce, and their larvae, as you can tell from most plants, caterpillars don't look like butterflies, and apparently baby ladybugs don't look like adult ladybugs either. They're really spiky and they're colorful. But I've probably got 3 or 4 dozen of them all over my plants. So lots of new fun, new visitors, and new things to learn. You're always learning something new when you garden. So here's the other side of my tomato plant. You can't really distinguish it almost. The green beans have grown into it, and it's growing out. The great thing about it being that tall is that the trellis, it grows around everything. I've got it tied to a stake, but it's got leaves kind of shooting back that way. It's got leaves shooting back this way, and they kind of intermingle around the trellis. So I don't really have to do a whole lot of staking up. It does its own supporting. So all right, let's go take a look at the gutters. All right, we're back here at the gutter systems. So not a ton to show you here. We'll get started here. Here's my broccoli. We got one plant that's come out. It's doing pretty well. It hasn't gotten eaten up too bad. And then another little baby one there. So hopefully those will start growing pretty good. My carrots are doing pretty well. I had a couple of little bugs come in and harass them, but not too bad. Beets have not grown too well, and I'll kind of go over that a little bit later. Zucchini, a little bit the same way. He's not much changed from the last time y'all were here. I'm actually getting some spinach growth. Woohoo! First true leaves coming out, so hopefully many more. The radishes, lots of green on the radishes so far. A little radish patch. And some more baby carrots here. Coming down, lettuce, more spinach. Turnips and radishes, not a whole lot going on there. I got broccoli at different stages of development here though. Got some babies down there, little babies. And I got some more big plants. Kind of a little floppy. I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he just hadn't woken up yet. I know some of y'all might be on your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th cup of coffee. Y'all know the feeling. Potato experiment, not a whole lot changed, so I won't bore you with that. As soon as things start to sprout, I'll be coming up with updates on that. See the Great Potato Experiment video if you want to look at it. More carrots, more turnips. These have a little bit more growth on them, so they got true leaves coming up. They're all a little bit floppy, but they'll turn out pretty well. Green beans starting to go. Soon they'll be up attached to the trellis and going up that way. This little plant here, yes, that's a green bean, but it's kind of a volunteer green bean. You see, I had in my other video, you can see I had a lot of green beans in the back in that square foot garden. They kind of dried out, and they only put out a couple of beans at a time, and so I couldn't eat them, so I just kind of let them sit on the plant and go to seed. And that is the baby of one of those seed pods. I didn't give them a snowball's chance in hell of actually developing because the plant looks so measly, but they are growing and jumping up, and I've got one there. I've got one that I kind of put in the middle of the peas over there, and then I've got a couple of others down the line that I'll show you. The cucumber in there is not doing so hot, and I'm kind of wondering, because this is yellow pot, the cucumber didn't do so well. That yellow pot, the peas aren't doing so well. I'm wondering if yellow pots aren't the best color, if maybe the yellow affects the plant, because the plant's kind of yellowing out too. Maybe a UV light reflects, or maybe maybe the same problem is affecting my other beds, or my other pots, and I'll get to that. So more peas here. These are almost ready to string up to the trellis. They're growing great. Here's my zucchini, or squash plant, excuse me, that I'd kind of transplanted. I'm having to support it because it grows out and down, and so I'm hoping I can, if I support it, it will grow up, and it will grow vertical, and I'll actually get some leaves. You can see just how big those leaves are getting. It is looking awesome. So here's something that I have been dealing with a little bit in the last day or two. You can see those spots on that plant. That is powdery mildew. It doesn't really harm the plant per se. It's just a cosmetic thing, and it is a fungus, so you want to try and get rid of it. So a little bit of baking soda in a spray bottle with some water. Oh, dog's going crazy. A little bit of baking soda in a spray bottle with some water, maybe a little dish soap or vegetable oil to help coat the plants, and then spray it on, and then apply again in the next week or so. So that's my squash plant. If you can look there, you just barely see Mr. Green Bean coming out. That's another one of those bush beans from the back, and so is this guy. So I've got probably 3 or 4 of those green bean plants, and if they give me a crop, I might have a whole lot of seeds to put out next year. We'll see if they're deformed. I don't know if that was a hybrid or not. That tomato plant is just getting huge. It was about right here when I planted it, and that was the same time I planted these things, which was end of July. And this is getting 3/4 of the way through August, so a month, maybe. Just going crazy, got blooms all over the place. So cherry tomato, you expect a lot of blooms with the cherry tomato, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get a ton of some cherries on there. I have celery planted in these, and I see a little bitty streak of green. But I don't know if that's a celery plant or not. So maybe the celery just isn't germinating like it should. Maybe something got to the seeds, I don't know. And this is my venture into kale. So a little bit of kale action going on here. And they've sprouted good, they're growing, they're starting to take to the sky. So let me go get my tripod, and I'll show you a thing that I think I've learned on these gutter systems. So I'll be right back and show you a little pointer if you're growing gutter systems on how deep to fill the plants. Alright, this will kind of give you a good differentiation between, and give you an idea of what I'm talking about. These radishes, you can see in the bucket, they're planted a little bit higher. And so they didn't have very far to grow. This side of the bucket would shade the plants. It acts as a shade, a sunblock. And so you need to plant them higher. My original goal was to not plant them as high, so that way I could add mulch and fill it up, and then that way I could reduce moisture loss. But I didn't count on the soil shrinking so much, because the soil was put all the way to the line, and then it just shrunk, and these weren't filled up all the way to the line. They were a little bit shallow, and that's kind of causing some difficulty with my plants. So for your plants that grow tall, they won't do so bad, because they'll grow out of the sunblock and grow into the sun, and then they can get all the sun they need from there. The shallower ones, like the spinach, here, the zucchini plant didn't do so hot the same way, and then the beets especially. They don't grow very tall, and so they can't really grow out of that sunblock, and so they're really, you know, flopping around in the deeper buckets. So that'll be a lesson to learn for next year. Fill your buckets all the way up, and then when you water down the soil, it will take it about an inch and a half down, and then you can plant there, and the plants don't have to work as hard to get vertical, so they can get to the sun. So lesson learned. I'm gonna apply that next year, and just work with what I've got so far this year, because it's a little late. It's about the end of August. A little late to be changing things around too much. Well, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back in a couple weeks to show you the raised beds and the gutters. Next week I'll also show you the back of the garden. Not doing a whole lot, but I'm hoping by next week, with the cooler weather, the rain, then I'll have some baby peppers to show you and a lot of tomatoes. So we'll see. Not a whole lot of other stuff happening around here except for what's back behind me. So it's been fun hanging out with you this morning, but I've got to get to work. So this is Dewey in Nashville reminding you again that you plant the seed, but God provides the harvest.